Good evening, everyone. We're going to get ready to get started with our Akron Citizens Police Oversight Board
Hey, how you doing?
for
All right.
July the 10th, 2024. We'll go around with our roll call. Gippin.
Here.
Peoples.
Here.
Hawkins.
Here.
Castle.
Here.
Costa.
Present.
Richards.
Here.
Jones. Ms. Anaskevich will be absent on this evening. Boyd is here. I'd like to make a motion to accept last meeting's minutes. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Now we'll move into our public comment portion of our evening. Is there anyone that has a public comment they'd like to give? If not, we'll move on into our report outs. We'll start first with governance, Mr. Gippin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No action items tonight, but some things to report. I think all good news. My understanding, although it hasn't, I don't have confirmation, but my understanding is that we will probably be getting a request for proposal draft from the law department soon for, I'll call it independent legal counsel, which we've been working on, for some weeks, and really appreciate the work on that, and I'm glad that we seem to have reached a point where that's going to move forward now, hopefully easily and promptly. So that's a good report that I'm making. Otherwise, at the meeting last night, we spent some time talking about use of force, our continuing work on, in all probability, making recommendations for policy changes to the city. And I know Mr. Fennell has had, a substantial dialogue now with the administration about those issues. It's a complex matter, but I think we're beginning to be pulling together our thoughts about what we're likely to be recommending probably in a few months. I think this still needs some processing, but that's in action too. We spent most of the time in the meeting talking about the recommendations that we might make to the administration to be included in the negotiation for the collective bargaining agreement, which negotiations are going to start in a few months. We had understood that the internal process on the administration side starts next month. That's kind of what we thought, August. Yeah. So in light of that, we're hoping to be able to meet the schedule to have our input to that process on time, which would mean that we would be working through probably a draft at the next governance meeting, which is going to be next Tuesday. We're going to go back on schedule next Tuesday, the 16th. Hopefully we'll have a draft that we could pull together and bring to the board, for action at the meeting in 2 weeks on the 24th. I think it might be helpful, and I think we were far enough along, Mr. Chairman, that mentioning the topics that we are still tentatively, but which we seem likely now to be bringing forward. I thought, especially for the public to know, to mention those. One topic, as we all know, is our own authority. Hope that we can get in the new collective bargaining agreement, what we have said since we began a year ago, the scope of authority that we think is intended by the charter. So that plainly is one topic that we would have. Otherwise, the topics are not directly related to us so much as generally to policing. One would concern the scope of the matters which can be taken to arbitration. As matters now stand, if an officer is disciplined, as we have had happen, concerning use of force, If that is appealed, it is ultimately decided by a private arbitrator, not by any elected official, certainly not by the mayor. And so that is likely to be something on which we will make recommendations. Likewise, we're likely to make recommendations concerning the scope of the chief's discretion to make assignments on patrol. In other words, to take some or all of that still needs to be worked through, but at least some of it would be made exempt, not subject to seniority bidding, and therefore in the discretion of the chief to make the optimal staffing recommendations. And then probably a group of recommendations concerning broadly the complaint process, but also including such matters as the ability of officers to view video before they make statements if they're under investigation, concerning the standards that would be used in weighing the evidence on citizen complaints, and also how reprimands on previous matters could be used in subsequent matters, expanding that ability to use. Bringing this up because now is the time, if others have thoughts about what we should include, this is the time to bring them forward, please. I had a conversation with a community member today. They are working on it. I don't know that they realize the time press, and so I think we may be getting some recommendations from them by next week. I know that NAACP, through Leah's had some thoughts about it too. But we want to pull this together ideally in a week to bring to the board in 2 weeks. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gippen. I just asked the law department, now that we've got the director here with us, if there's anything that we could do in particular to tee up recommendations and get them to you all's department in a way that's going to be most beneficial to incorporate it into the collective bargaining process, then please do give us guidance so we can ensure that we're being as effective as possible.
Okay, I can do that. I mean, I'm going to be real honest. To the extent that any of this costs money, like that causes the officers to be inclined to request increased wages because of these recommendations, it's going to be problematic. I mean, we have requests that are going to be coming out of the administration that, are going to result potentially in those kinds of things. And so I mean, this is something that is a difficult and extensive process. And so, I mean, I'm happy to take your recommendations or your proposals to the administration and to the attorney that is going to be helping us in negotiations. I'm not going to make any promises. I'll be real honest. So, because I'm not entirely sure all of the recommendations that I'm making are going to be included in those proposals. But I'm absolutely perfectly happy to take any recommendations that you develop as a board, whether they come from board members or maybe members of the community at large. Take them into the administration to see if we can accomplish something with them. Okay, yeah, that would probably be the best way to do it in the form of a resolution.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gippen, for you and your committee for that. Next, we'll move on to the auditor's report. Mr. Fennell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I passed out a hard copy of the report, and there's copies available for members of that's in the gallery here. So since our last meeting, I have not reviewed any additional reports where I concurred with the findings and had recommendations or concerns. But in a meeting with the administration on yesterday, I was told that the reports that I have submitted, the two that are on the first page here, as well as the report that was submitted, the the first report I submitted back in April. We should be receiving responses from the administration to the recommendations included in those reports in August and possibly September. So we look to get a response from the first report sometime in August, which I will report out, and then also as the other two responses come in, we'll prepare and report those out as well. So I reviewed 11 use of force investigations since our last board meeting, where I concur with APD findings. I did not review any additional ones where I did not concur with the findings, and currently I have 6 in various stages of review. On the report, you'll see one that's highlighted in red. It's highlighted in red as because that case involves juveniles, and all of the material related to that case has been sealed by the court for the time being. So I'm unable to move on that, but I had begun that review, so that's why I have it on the list. We received 7 complaints, citizen complaints in the last couple of weeks, and currently to date, you'll see our numbers, 2 that concur with recommendations, 21 that I concur with the findings, and then 1 that do not concur. As far as current projects, we have not had any movement on the case management and database development. My plan is to reach back out to Ms. Nanette Pitt of the mayor's office, who was my point of contact on that, to initiate an additional conversation to see where we are with that. And with the OIPA process and procedures, like I said, we met with the mayor's office, law department, and chief of police on yesterday to discuss. Chief is working with myself and also his team to get us direct access to some materials necessary for the use of force reviews in a system called Blue Team, and we'll continue ongoing discussions on the process and procedures, both formally and informally. Chief and I will meet together, and then we'll work with the mayor's office to coordinate a similar meeting as we had yesterday in the near future to bring a list of items that need to be addressed and then work towards addressing those items. Over the last couple of weeks, I did not have any community activities or presentations, and you want me to go right into the deputy auditor? No, not yet? Okay. All right. So that concludes my report.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Fennell regarding his report? All right. So we're going to move on. Before I do, probably one of the most important items on our agenda is we want to welcome our new board member, Ms. Crystal Jones. We're so honored and glad that you're a part of us. Ms. Jones has been, I would say, a pillar in our community for a long time, and all the great work she's done with Project Ujima and all of her efforts across the city of really bringing people together and the peace circle. So we often need a little peace in this circle, so we are glad that you're here. Absolutely. Any words you'd like to say?
I just want to thank all of you, actually, for your service so far. You know, this is not an easy thing. You know, there's no, I'm sure there was no blueprint for all of this. And so it's my understanding that it took a lot of hard work. And so, you know, from my standpoint in the community, I thank you for that. And at this point, I just want to do my part. And so I look forward to contributing whatever I can, and look forward to working with all of you. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any words for Ms. Jones before we move on?
Join governance.
Glad to have you with us.
Right, the next thing I want to do is just to do a brief report out for community engagement. I think everybody has one of these flyers for the National Night Out I think it would be important for each one of us to represent our wards, or the ward that you belong to, and attend this. If you could, I know I talked to Mr. Fennell earlier, and he's going to make his round robin appearance to try to go to every one of them just from a touch point. I think this is going to be a great way for us to kind of meet our community exactly where they are for the National Night Out. It says a celebration to bring neighbors and safety forces together under positive circumstances. And so I think our representation, especially within our wards that we represent, will be important for us to be a part of that and to stop by and to show ourselves there. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity for us to get out into the community that way. Mr. Costa, I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to put in. All right. Awesome. Okay. So from there, I'm going to assume, Ms. Richards, our HR report is going to lead into what Ms. Fennell has. Okay. So, Mr. Fennell, I'll go back to you to kind of bring us up to speed where we are as far as the deputy auditor search this time.
Thank you very much. As you know, we posted a position opening about 2.5 months ago now, and from that we received 9 applicants. After review of those 9 initial applicants, there were 5 that we invited to a first round of interviews. Those were very structured interviews, and at the conclusion of those interviews, 2 more applicants were selected to move on to the in-person interview. So they were brought in before this body, and that was at our last board meeting, and they were given the opportunity to speak to each board member, and each board member asked questions. Out of that meeting, a couple of board members were not able to be present for the entire process or present at all, so I was able to schedule a second round of the second round to include those board members that weren't present, so they'd have an opportunity to also engage with the candidates. And that was on July 1st. So since that time, I've been able to go through and consult with and reach out to the references that were provided by each of the candidates. And so on tonight, I would like to present the name of the candidate I would like that I've selected to be the next Deputy Independent Police Auditor, and that's Ms. Keisha Myers. And I present Ms. Myers to this body with the hopes that you will approve and we can make an offer of employment to Ms. Keisha Myers.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Fennell as far as his selection that he's bringing before this board?
I'm assuming not, but did we draft an offer letter, or did we solidify what the exact terms of the offer would be?
Yes, I've met with, I've consulted with HR, and I do have an offer letter that is prepared to be sent, should the board approve of this nomination. Are you, I don't know if I can speak to the terms of the offer, but it's very similar to, in format, the offer letter that I received. Obviously, it's not within a specific time limit like mine was, because this would be an employee, so it is an offer of employment for Ms. Myers.
I guess I'd ask Ms. Richards what either her and/or the committee's recommendation is or motion.
Yeah, the HR committee is in concurrence with that, and I would put forth a motion that we vote on Ms. Myers as our deputy auditor.
I'll second. I would want to comment about it, though. I'll second the motion, but I will want to speak to the motion.
So a motion just happened?
She made a motion and I've seconded it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to comment.
Go ahead.
First of all, let me say, I think this was a marvelous process that you structured, Mr. Fennell, and I know HR had its role in it, Ms. Richards, but I thought it was an excellent process. Of course, I had the opportunity to be in the first interview round too, so I've seen the whole thing. So very good job, and I was impressed with the. I only knew of the 5 candidates, but I mean, in a sense, all 5 of them were impressive. And I think that says very good things about how this board and you personally are perceived not only in this community but nationally. So, thought it was an excellent process. I think that Ms. Myers is an excellent choice. I'm pleased that you've recommended her to do this job. I think she'll do it very well. I do want to say this, though, just so that we have been fully transparent about Ms. Myers and about the decision that we're going to be voting on. Ms. Anaskevich, of course, is not here tonight, and that is because Ms. Myers is her niece, and she therefore cannot participate in this process in any way. I think that it's important that the public know that, and I can only speak for myself. Aware of that fact, and we did speak with Ms. Myers about it, I am fully satisfied. I know to a certainty Ms. Anaskevich has done nothing to further her candidacy. She's been neutral, which is the proper thing. And I am quite comfortable, especially with Ms. Myers' explanation, that her being Ms. Anaskevich's niece is completely irrelevant to this, and that she will do a first-rate job, including, I'm satisfied, in her, to the extent she needs to interact with Ms. Anaskevich as the vice chair or otherwise, that it will go very well. But I think it's important that the public know that we've considered it, and at least I, as a board member, am fully satisfied that Ms. Myers should fill the position.
Thank you, Mr. Gippen. Ms. Richards, could you give me the motion one more time? I know it's been seconded, but I didn't hear because we were sidebarring. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I move that we, as a board, vote for Ms. Myers as the deputy auditor.
Okay. Second. Any further discussion?
I just want to say that obviously I wasn't a part of the interview process and not even sure if I should be voting, but I did want to say that I have worked with, this is the first that I've heard that she's in contention for this job, but I do want to say that I have worked with her in the past and found her work ethic and her professionalism to be of the highest, and she was a hard worker and she was very dependable. I worked with her when she was with the juvenile court. We went through Peace Circle training and did a lot of work there and just in other capacities. So I just wanted to say that about her. Thank you.
And Ms. Jones, you can abstain from this
Yes.
vote. Absolutely.
If I could quickly, I just wanted to second the sentiments that have been made with respect to Ms. Myers' application. I was incredibly impressed by her interview, but not just because of the wealth of experience that she brings technically that aligns with the job description, but largely the spirit of service that she's bringing with her, and also just the degree of ability to just figure things out, and I think that's the thing that resonated the most. So very excited, and I second Mr. Gippen's statement to the fullest, especially to the degree that it's important for us to be transparent, but also just to the aspect that this process as a whole was just done first class. And so again, kudos to you, Mr. Fennell. We appreciate you leading us through this process, and very excited to see what we're able to do with a full staff if the nomination is carried through successfully.
All right, if there be no other comments, are we ready to roll call vote? If so, I will begin. Gippen?
Yes.
Peebles?
No.
Hawkins?
No.
Castle?
Yes.
Costa?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Boyd, yes. Resolution passes.
Mr.
Two-thirds.
Chairman, it needs a two-thirds majority.
Gotcha. It doesn't. All righty. Okay. Any comments, Mr. Peoples or Ms. Hawkins?
No.
Okay.
I think that both of them are good, but I feel more comfortable with Nathan.
Okay. All right, we'll get back to the drawing board. All right. Next item on the agenda are the chair's comments. So I want to,
Mr. Chairman, before we move on,
yes.
just procedurally, my understanding is that this vote tonight does not preclude a subsequent vote. In other words, it can be, the motion could be made again,
Okay.
so that it is not final in that sense.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Skippon. All right, to move forward with the chairman's notes, comments, I do want to say myself and Mr. Gippin had I thought, a very fruitful discussion with Mayor Malik and also Ms. Matz from the Law Department. During this time that we met together, the mayor agreed on a 45-day.
I think it was with Mr. Fennell, not with me, but yeah.
What you say?
You said with me, but I wasn't.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fennell. Regarding the 45-day policy regarding any type of follow-ups for the recommendations that were made by Ms. Fennell. That's something that we feel really, really great about. And it will be in understanding that 45 days is a space that we want to begin and start, but also building a little bit, if necessary, any levity we may need, depending on the type of case or the type of recommendation and that follow-up. So we feel really good about that. It was a very, I thought, productive discussion. Ms. Fennell, if you want to add anything, or Ms. Matz, if you want to add anything to that, but I thought that we came to a head, and the law department's going to work on putting together a policy for us so that can happen really well. The other thing I want to talk about is I had a great conversation as well with Akron City Council President Margot Somerville, and accepting really an invitation for myself as chair and also Mr. Fennell regarding just going to present to City Council at least once a quarter. We'll do more if need be, just based on what's going on here. And really excited about that because, man, we're going to get to really kind of from a communication standpoint and a presentation standpoint, we're really going to be presenting the work that's been going on here, not only from the standpoint of what Mr. Fennell is doing, but also the work that we're doing as a board as we talk about our governance, but also our community engagement. And so really excited about how things are progressing and moving along for us. We've been at this for a little while now, and so it's good to have some wins and some things that we can check off our box as far as some of the communication and some of the meetings that we're able to have. And those discussions are really, I think, fruitful in nature. And so really excited about that. So I just wanted to share that with the group, but also continue to tell this group, thank you so much for your efforts and your service and all the great work that I know that we're all doing. It's been a heavy lift, and how we have really worked to fill out not only the office of the independent auditor, but also the work of all of our committees. So we thank you. So I thank each and every one of you a lot for the work that you all have been doing.
Well, thank you primarily to you, Mr. Chairman. You've been carrying most of the weight, so.
Appreciate it. All right. Is there any other comments? Anything else good for the order? Man. All right. If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Have a great evening and drive safe.